Hi everyone, welcome. So this will be not very intense as we're looking at mostly Matthew chapter 25 verse 1 to 13, which is obviously the story of the 5 wise and the 5 foolish virgins. So it'll be more of a reminder and also be just something that we need to get our head around, especially for the fast that's coming up. So the outline for today's talk is we'll try to go deeper on some of the verses that we're going to read together from this story, especially using a lot of the church fathers. So there's going to be a lot of quotes from the church fathers, so please bear with me as they're very, very needed. So what we're going to start off with is read the story together, and then I've split it up into 3 parts. So the first part, the first few verses, I've called it Act 1 or bedtime, and I'll explain what that means. And then we move on to Act 2, which is slumber, and then Act 3, which is the morning dawn. Okay? And everything will make more sense when we get to each act. So, can I ask someone to start reading? People from the back. So when you read, everyone in the front can hear you. So can we start with, who's got a loud voice? No one wants to volunteer at the back? Then I'll pick on someone. Sebastian, can you please read the first half of the story, please? Thank you.
The whole thing?
If you can.
Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him." Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps.
Mina?
The foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of the oil for our lamps are burning out." But the wise answered, saying, "No, lest there should not be enough for us. Let's go rather to those who sell and buy for yourself." And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins came also saying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he answered and said, "Surely I say to you, I do not speak to you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming."
Thank you. So we've all heard the story many times. So I want us to split it up into 3 sections. So we've got Act 1, okay, of the story, which is the first 4 verses, let's say. And the main themes of that 4 verses are, we've got the 10 virgins, they've set the scene, they've got lamps, okay, and we're going to talk about purity of faith, which is linking it to virginity, and then we're going to talk about the midnight, okay? And what we're going to focus on is every single verse, why God said that in that particular verse with that particular wording, because it's very essential that we get the whole picture. So, what I mean by bedtime routine is when any of us want to go to sleep, we want to make sure that our bed is set, our room is clean, everything is sorted before we join our bed and go sleep. So, the way I think of things is I'm a visual learner, so when I go into my room, I want everything to be in its position and to be laid out properly. So, the first thing that needs to be laid out properly, okay, is my bed. My bed needs to be set, okay? Because in the morning I wake up, the duvet's everywhere, the pillows is everywhere, so I want it to be perfectly set. That, for me, links to the number 10. Why did God use the number 10? Why not 9? Why not 11 virgins, 12 virgins, 13 virgins? He likes 12 disciples. Why didn't he say 12 virgins? There's a reason why. We look at the number 10 as something in perfection. 10 is all-inclusive, right? We've got 10 fingers, and it represents all of us, okay? Represents any of us in whatever stage we're at. Okay, so St. Cyril of Alexandria says here, the number is not accidental. It encompasses every type of soul. The consecrated, the married, the young, all are invited to the feast. So when he said 10 virgins, it means all of us, no matter where we are in our lives. No matter if we're virgins or not virgins, whether we are jobless or have a job, whether we're still in studies, whether late in our lives, okay? This message, this passage that we just read, applies to all of us. Not just because that person is old in age, they're going to die soon. Oh, they have to worry about this passage. They have to stay awake. No, it's all of us. That's why God said number 10. And then he split it up into 5, 5. We've got 5 wise and 5 foolish. And again, I'm going to ask you, why 5? Why not do the split 6 and 4? Why not 7 and 3? 5, something in our lives that we share is 5 senses. We have 5 senses in us. And the church fathers linked those 5 senses to the 5 wise and the 5 foolish. The 5 wise controlled their senses. The 5 foolish did not control their senses. They gave in. Oh, it's midnight. It's time to sleep. Let's go sleep. My eyes are weary. Let me close my eyes. The 5 wise used their senses, used their touch to make sure the oil's filled, make sure their eyes are wide open, ready to receive the bridegroom. So here we can see why 5 and 5 is the split. So that was the first criteria. My bed is set. We're all included in this. The second thing that we just read is the lamp and the oil. So there's this criteria 2 and 3. So likewise, most of us, before we like to go to sleep, okay, we like to have a little light on our bedside, and we like to hopefully read the Bible or read a spiritual book, but I'm sure most of us probably scroll on our phones, whatever we do. Importantly, you need light for that, whether light from your phone or light from your bed lamp or bedside. And that's where the lamp and the oil comes in. They go hand in hand, right? Whether it's your light switch, it needs electricity to give you that light. The lamp by itself does not work. It needs oil. So they come hand in hand. And that's very important. So what we need to understand here is, what does the lamp represent for us? So God here says that represents the full person, the capability of a person. We were all created in his image. We all have a lifetime to do things. That's the capability, that's the lamp, that's the vessel. We are a vessel of God, with the vessel of the Holy Spirit. We're a temple. What do we do with that temple? What do we do with that lamp? That's what we've got to ask ourselves. So St. John Chrysostom says, a lamp does not burn is useless. So too a life that carries faith but shows no love in action. We are all vessels of Christ. All of us are baptized, all of us come to church. But what do we do with that? That's where the oil comes in. The oil is love, or how we say in our Coptic faith, agape. And St. Augustine, again, has his reflection on this. The oil is something great, very great. It floats above all virtues. And again, St. Cyril of Alexandria says, the oil cannot be borrowed or shared. It must be personally acquired through a life of love and virtue. We know love never fails. Love always floats on top. St. Paul has said it. Above all, love is the greatest. We know all of this. Okay, but what we need to remember is, like I said, this is a reminder, is that we are a vessel and we need oil to shine. Because we are asked and we are tasked and we are commanded to be the light of the world. So we need to shine before men. So that's the second and third criteria. I'm just here setting the scene before we get to the gist of the story. So, again, the next word that God uses in this passage, so we talked about the number 10, we talked about the 5 and 5 split, we talked about the lamp and oil, why them two in particular, why those 2 items, why us being the light. The next thing, he uses virginity. He could have just said 5 doctors and 5 nurses. He could have said 5 Mikis and 5 Dianas, for example. But no, he didn't. He said 5 virgins and 5 virgins. Okay, and it's very important that he said both of them are virgins. But the distinction is, one is 5 of them are wise and 5 of them are foolish. And why is that? It's the virginity that splits them apart. When we talk about virginity here, it means what St. Augustine said, the virginity of faith, incorruptible faith that abstains from impure things and does good works. The whole church, virgins, married, young and old, is called a virgin. Few have acquired bodily virginity, but all are called to spiritual virginity. And again, St. Jerome says here, virginity may be lost by a mere thought. The wicked virgins are virgins in body, but not in spirit. They are foolish and have no oil, so the bridegroom casts them out. So, what are these church fathers talking about? So we can see that there's 2 types of virginity here. We've got the bodily virginity, okay, that few have acquired. But spiritual virginity, we are all called to do so. And this links back to the five senses, controlling our senses, controlling our flesh. Okay, this is why we practice fasting. So then we can obtain that spiritual virginity, that purity in heart. And that's what we talk about when we talk about purity in faith. Is control our senses so we don't get lost anywhere. Hopefully that all makes sense. So we've set the scene. We've got why he said virginity, why he said virgins, why he said 10, why he said 5 and 5, why he said midnight. But why midnight? Because midnight is usually a time we're all asleep, hopefully, because most of us have a job, most of us have school, university, so we go sleep by midnight. I know some people are up, probably studying, but most of us are asleep. So that applies to all of us, both the wise and the foolish, to all 10. Okay, like we said, the number 10 represents all of us, no matter where we are in our stage. The slumber here represents death. And the question I want to ask you is, what have you done with your time? So now we've set the scene, and now we're going to look at what have you done with your bed, with your bedroom. Your bedroom is set now. So what are you going to reap out of it? And this is where living faith versus dead faith comes into place. We obviously know the answer. The foolish had dead faith, the wise had living faith. But how can we distinguish that? The foolish had faith. They were part of the wedding. They were invited to the wedding. You're all invited to come to church. The house of God is always open for us. Communion is available to us every single day in this beautiful church. But faith without love is like the oil running out. And it can run out at the critical moment, just like it did for the foolish. It ran out in their critical moment. St. James says clearly, even the demons believe and tremble. And St. Jerome says, wicked virgins are virgins in body, but not in spirit. Appearance without depth. Ask yourself, are we in the church, attending, but are we participating? There's a difference. I'm physically in the church. These foolish virgins were in the wedding, but yet they did not enter the feast. They were invited. You are invited. What's important here is, just going to use one of the church fathers again. St. Cyril says, the foolish had the form of religion, but not its energy. They relied on past virtue without cultivating ongoing love. And I really like the ongoing love because the foolish probably had oil beforehand. They ran out. The beautiful thing about this story is the lamb needs to continuously be provided with oil. We need to do acts of love. Our faith is not enough to save us. Okay? And you guys can read the book of James, the epistles of James, and it talks all about faith and works. So, the opposite, therefore, is living faith. And faith is expressed through daily acts of love. Oil that never runs dry. That's what it represents. St. Augustine says it very clearly. Love floats above all liquids. Pour anything else on it and it rises to the top. Love never fails, even when the night is long and the weight is weary. Again, I'm going to use St. Luke here in chapter 12, verse 35. Let your waist girded and lamp burning. Good works are sustained by your purity of heart. So it all links together. So when I said you've got to set up your bedroom, it's not enough just to do one of the criteria. It's remembering, it's the number 10, it's all inclusive. The church is a communal area. It's a communal place of worship. We've got to partake in it. 5 is the 5 senses. Are my senses foolish or my senses wise? Control my senses. The next is the lamp and oil. Is my vessel ready to receive oil? Am I going out to get oil? Those all together make that living faith. So, let's go a bit deeper, okay? How can I call myself a Christian if my senses are not intact? So, St. John Chrysostom says, when your tongue is like the tongue of Christ and your mouth becomes the mouth of the Father, you are a temple of the Holy Spirit. What honor is this? Even your mouth were made of gold and precious stones. It would not shine as much as with adornment of meekness. What is more beloved than a mouth that does not know how to curse, but is accustomed to bless? So he just uses the tongue here as an example. But this applies to every single action, every single thing you do with your hands, with your ears, with your eyes, with your minds. So, does my tongue build or does my tongue tear down? The wise virgins did not gossip, curse, belittle people. No foul language came out of them. Their mouth, their tongue, was used for blessings, to bless others. Are your hands stretched out to help the needy? Are your hands ready to carry someone's load? Or are they occupied about selfish needs? Your eyes, what do you choose to watch? What do you choose to scroll through? What is your social media filled up of? What are you allowing your eyes to see every single day? Are you seeing the good in people? Do you give people the benefit of the doubt? St. Jerome said about your mind, I'm going to repeat what we just read. Virginity may be lost by a mere thought. We must bring every thought captive to Christ. Yes, we are weak. Yes, we are human. And sometimes we give in to our flesh. But controlling our senses, what really separates us from being foolish and making us wise. So, the next part is, so when we're sleeping, they woke up, they realized the bridegroom's coming, they need some oil. God makes a very clear distinction in the story. The oil cannot be borrowed. We talked about oil being acts of love, acts of good works. Can I borrow that off someone? And again, St. Cyril of Alexandria says, the oil of love and virtue is personal. It cannot be transferred from one soul to another. Each person must acquire it themselves for a life of genuine charity, prayer, and the sacraments of the church. Again, you can see, he says it plain, black and white. You can't trick God. You can't trick into getting into heaven. You know what to do. You know what to fill up your oil. You're all old enough. You've all been through Sunday school. You all read your Bibles. You all know how to fill up your lamp with oil. So no one can pray for you alone. We know prayer life is absolutely essential. But no one can do that for you. You have to go out of your way and pray. Go find a quiet corner and pray. You can't borrow of that someone. But those foolish virgins thought they can go borrow oil. They thought they can go borrow prayer. That's what it is. No one can love for you. No one can do these acts of service, those acts of mercy. You go out of your way to forgive someone. You go out of the way to help the poor. You go out of your way to help your church. And the last one is, for the oil that cannot be borrowed, is attend, don't just observe. What do I mean by that? I've just mentioned it, is you attending the church is different than you just observing. You have to actively participate in the sacraments of the church, in the youth services, in whatever service. Give back to God, because God has given you abundantly. You are impossible to ever pay him back. The blood that he shed, it's impossible for you to ever pay him back. So the least you could do is come and receive him. So we've talked about the slumber. So they were asleep. We talked about the 4 criteria that I mentioned, and then we talked about the oil and living faith versus dead faith. So now the last act is the morning dawn, the aftermath, the feast. So the topics that we're going to look at is the wise enter, the door shuts, the foolish arrive, and God says, I do not know you. So this is quite intense, because the word I do not know you still scares me till now when I ever read it. It's because some people might misinterpret this. So we've got to again look at it from the church father's perspective, so we don't misinterpret anything. I do not know you means not you have sinned, get out of my face. It's I have no relationship with you. What does that mean is, in 2 Timothy, we read, having a form of godliness, but denying its power. So we said, those who sell oil, those who have the oil, I can go grab oil while it's still day. It's still day, I can go grab oil. How do I grab oil? Again, through these acts of service, through living faith, not dead faith. We've established that in the previous slides. So if I've done that, I've built a relationship with God. He will then receive me into his wedding. He will come receive me into his feast, and he will say, well done, my child, I do know you. But you having the form of godliness, you have decided, yes, I am the lamp, but I'm not going to fill it with oil. I am the vessel of God, but I'm not going to fill it with oil. I'm going to let it go to waste. And that's what Timothy is saying here. Having form of godliness, but denying it receiving any oil. So, what does that mean in practical sense? I know it sounds weird, but I thought of a scenario, okay? So imagine you've got the Pope coming, all right, and Abuna or some of the deacons will call you, be like, the Pope is coming at 2 a.m. He's coming here to St. Mary and St. Abraham Church, okay? You get woken up by their call, be like, Ta'al, it's 2 a.m., let's come. What are you going to answer? Hang on, let me get ready first. I need to shower first, do my hair, get a nice suit on, because, the Pope is coming, I have to look nice. Some others probably prefer their own sleep over the Pope coming, so they'll probably be like, get out of my face, I'll go see him in the morning. Naturally, that's what we feel like, because it's midnight. Why would the Pope turn up at midnight? Why would he turn up at 2 a.m.? Same thing. We set a time at church for when liturgy starts. We don't wait around for people to come before Abuna starts the liturgy. No. Liturgy starts. The feast starts. The liturgy is a feast. And we celebrate it at the end by receiving Christ himself. The bridegroom is ready. He's at liturgy. He's at the altar. Where are you? Slumbering in your bed? That's what this is an illustration of. Now I'm going to add my own contemplation, okay? So this is not from the church fathers, this is from mine, just as a disclaimer. So when I started this talk, when I think Venice approached me, it was during Holy Week, and so this was during the Holy Week contemplations, and I looked at the Garden of Gethsemane scene. So when Christ went to his disciples, told them to sit here by the side, and I will go and pray to my Father. And he was praying in full agony, tears of blood were coming out, all that. We know the side of Christ, but the side of the disciples, they fell asleep. Christ came to him, woke them up. I told you guys to stay up with me. And they fell asleep again. It was that same day that the disciples were left, right, and center, preparing for the Last Supper, finding a location, helping with the food, all the whole stuff. The Last Supper was such a big day. And then at that night, they were tired. It's midnight. So do we blame them for falling asleep? I don't, and I'm sure we would have probably been the same. The bridegroom was right next to them, 5 yards away, 10 yards away, and yet they even fell asleep. Are they foolish? The beautiful thing about the story of the Garden of Gethsemane here is a story of hope and a story of mercy of God. Christ did not abandon them. He came to them time and time again. And what did he say to them? He woke them up and said, rise, let us go. His mercy is patient. He's giving you time. You are here today, that's another opportunity. He's telling you, rise, let us go. He's giving you tomorrow. He's maybe giving you the next day. He's telling you, rise, let us go. Let's be spiritual virgins. Let us make sure that we are 5 virgins. 5 senses are in control. That's what he's saying. That's the message of hope that I received from this story. And the beautiful thing is, and this is what represents the end of the story, is he arose from the dead. They were able to enjoy the feast with him afterwards. They're up there in heaven with him. And that's the beautiful thing, is we are able to enjoy the feast. We are able to partake with him. But we must stay awake. Watch therefore, for you neither know the hour nor the day. So, just to come near to the conclusion, is keep your lamp burning. Do good works every day. Oil run out, right? We're constantly buying oil. Your mothers are probably buying oil because they're frying left, right, and center. Okay, so oil is absolutely essential in our everyday life. So it is in your spiritual life. And we talked about what the oil represents in our spiritual life. Cultivate with love through the sacraments, prayer, and mercy. Be in the presence of God. So you've got the liturgy, you've got the Ashbia, confession, communion, repentance, all sorts of things. So we can actively participate with God. Actively go out and find that oil. And again, midnight is approaching. The night time is approaching. So be watchful, but not fearful, but expecting it and joyful. Joyful because, like you've seen, you guys have been to so many weddings. The bridegroom is standing there awaiting his bride. So why are you scared? Why are you fearful about the midnight? Just be ready. Have your lamps ready, filled with oil. You are the lamp. You're a vessel. Be the light of the world. Shine. And when you do shine here, your final reward is to enjoy the wedding. So blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. We always read this. Read this in the Ashbia, read this in liturgy. Pure in heart, like I said, was if you are a spiritual virgin. If you have your 5 senses in control, you are able to be pure in heart. And if you're pure in heart, you're able to see God. And how can you see God? If you're inside the feast, if you're inside the wedding, not outside, banging on the door saying, Lord, remember me. And he turns around and says, I do not know you. So, St. Gregory of Nicaea says the pure heart is a mirror in which God is reflected. The wise virgin's whole life was polishing that mirror. So they were so busy polishing that mirror that they can see God when they look in that mirror as a reflection. The foolish did not. And again, the Divine Liturgy gives us a foretaste for this joy. Of the joy that we will receive up in heaven, the liturgy is a foretaste for it. Don't miss out on it. Come ready to receive it. And lastly, when we are up in heaven, there's no more midnight. There's no more waiting, no more lamb trying to fill up the oil. The bridegroom himself is the light, the eternal light that doesn't need any oil. The long watch is over. So, to finish off, I want to give you 3 questions to take home. Is my faith living, expressed through acts of love and mercy every single day? Living faith versus dead faith. Am I filling my lamp with oil, or have I been running on empty, attending without engaging? And if the bridegroom came tonight, am I ready to enter? What would I do differently starting tomorrow? Thank you.
Usual drill. Questions, comments, challenges, clarifications.
Put the last page to start off.
No questions, lovely, thank you.
I'll start.
Mickey's done.
Can you give examples of the good works that you keep talking about? Or can you give examples of the good works that are practical, achievable in our busy lives, and also these acts of love? What does that mean in practice for all of us?
Yeah. For me personally, it's sometimes easier to do the little things over the big things. So like not trying to do, I don't walk out here thinking, you know what, I'm going to be a saint from now on. It's a big jump. So take it step by step. So the way I look at it is, what's the one tiny act of love that I can do starting from tomorrow? Maybe, for example, approach a friend. Just check up on them. That's an act of love. You all are busy life, like Miki said, you all got university, studies, jobs. Maybe check up on someone. You don't know what that friend is going through. Ask about them. Ask about your parents. Ask about a sibling. For example, these small acts of love. In the church, you guys attend liturgy. What I find quite sad sometimes to look at is when you go to liturgy, you see a mix of ages. You see very old men and old women. They struggle sometimes to even move. For example, I see loads of ladies buying from the shop and they can barely carry it to the bus stop because they don't even have a car. The least you could do is maybe offer them a lift. Offer them to take their bags to the car. Little things like that. Maybe help out in the kitchen. You can see the aunts and uncles every day work in the kitchen. Clean the church. If you find even acts of kindness is, if you see a bit of rubbish on the floor, oh, it's not my rubbish, I will walk away. It's the house of God. Attend, don't just observe.
Any other questions? Manish?
So once I heard someone talk about this parable, and they said that the difference wasn't just that the foolish virgins didn't run out of oil and the wise ones had enough oil, but the wise ones had extra oil. So what does it look like to have extra oil versus just enough oil?
I think the way I see it, okay, again, this is just my interpretation, is it's a lifestyle, okay? It's when we say you've got oil, like, I don't want you to look at it as, do I do option A or option B, decision A or decision B? What fills me more of oil? What gives me more oil? Whether I take this job or this job, take this girl, or help out of this service or this service. It's more about living and breathing, and all my senses collectively work together as pure as possible. So it's not just my right hand is doing good works, but my eyes is wandering somewhere else. It's all my senses, everything I do is working towards the same goal. And I think continuously doing that, that's how we abundantly help ourselves fill ourselves with oil. Yes, Mary, last question, yeah?
Okay.
Great stuff.
So, in order to get oil,
Yeah.
normally you press this thing. You press it really hard, you crush it. Olives, sunflower, anything you crush really hard. Do you think the difference was maybe between the foolish and the wise, when one of them was going through a hard situation, being pressed so hard, instead of turning to God and saying, you know what, I'm going to allow you to crush me to get the oil so you can fill my lamp, and I'm going to sit still under your feet. And the foolish could be saying, you know what, I'm going to binge Netflix and I'm not going to go to church, I'm going to be angry with God. And their answer was not fill up with oil.
Yeah, what you're saying is to be in the presence of God as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, you're by his feet, not somewhere else, like you said, binge watching Netflix or whatever. Yes, you've got to keep your lamp burning.
But it's a hard situation.
Yeah.
What do you do with the hard situation? Because it could be the hard situation, God is allowing the hard situation in your life to get the oil out, or to fill your oil, because that's how you're going to get oil. Yes, we do acts of love, but also we're all going to go through really hard situations in our lives, and nobody's going to coast it through. So in those hard situations, do you think us sitting, as you're saying, at his feet and being thankful, that can fill up the oil instead of us running away?
Of course, that's part of a virtue. One of the virtues is patience. One of the virtues is righteousness, understanding that, okay, not everything is in my power. So it's trusting God. If I can do everything in my own power, then I'll turn around, pride will kick in and be like, why do I need God? If I can just manage it myself. Is being humble enough to understand is I need God, even at the times of difficult times, like what you say, Mary. So I think absolutely, yes, even patiently knowing and having faith and understanding that, you know what, I believe that God will get me through this. That's absolutely faith. Yes,
Well, I think what she meant is that those who earn the oil the hard way, they don't want to give it easy away. Like those who just receive it by it's not authentic, or just enough amount that keeps them going. But those wise virgins, they received it in such a hard way that later they can't share it so easily because it would be basically giving away something they earned really hard. Well,
No, sorry, that's not what I meant. What I'm trying to say, no, because in real life, when you go through a hard situation and you sit with God, you're actually more to share the pain and become more empathetic for other people. So you'll be able to do the acts of love that you're saying because it comes from a place of healing, not a place of pain. But it's just sometimes what I'm trying to say is, in order to get oil, sometimes it's not the easy way. Because in order to get oil in real life, especially olive oil, to anoint anything, you need olive oil. And olive oil in particular, you need to crush the olives so hard. So the hard situations that come in our life, if we don't accept them with gratitude and thanks, even though they're hard and I sit with God, I miss Him filling my lamp with oil.
Absolutely, I agree. Again, I'm going to use the disciples here. The disciples were working all day to get ready for the Last Supper, and Christ yet still expected from them to stay up. Like, they were tired. They wanted just to sleep. It was difficult for them. And even Christ himself said, get up, I need you. And yet, for me, it's the message of hope. It's, yes, if I sit patiently and trust in God by his feet, that he will eventually say, rise, let us go. We'll go together. And that's, for me, the message of hope that I got from the Garden of Gethsemane. And I think that's what applies to your question here. Yes, Diana.
Hopefully it's the last one.
Hopefully.
When you were preparing this,
Yes.
what do you think was the hardest thing, not that you read, but the hardest thing for you to implement in your life? What was the one thing that you're going to take away and do, but you find very hard and think it's very important that you do? That makes sense.
Confession, by the way.
No, it's fine, it's fine. If it is, does it count? Does it count if it
Because I
is?
usually ask this question to the person, but it is not considered as confession, more than something practical.
Look, I think for me personally, it's consistency. As we said, the first point here is keep your works lamp burning. Do good works every day. It's sometimes easy for me personally. I work from home. I have a certain routine. It's being consistent every single day in my prayer life, in my good works, acts of love. All that's together as a bubble. It's quite hard to be consistent for me. So trying to build up that. And that's why I said to Miki is, it's easier sometimes just to do start off somewhere and implement one little thing and try to get that into your routine or into your lifestyle before trying to jump too far and the fall is even bigger. Perfect, thank you. Over to Abanob.